'Cause you saved my soul. You came along and took me out of the nighttime. Yeah, you saved my soul. Taught me to fly. And I gave my heart. And babe, it's something that there's just no returning. 'Cause if I have you now, I'll never have to make it alone.
Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and Giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for The King in Giallo. And now, moving on to the next movie that I watched. Curtains, 1983 Canadian slasher. Interesting thing about this movie is there are a lot of ties to Giallo. I'll get it out of the way. This is not a Giallo. It's certainly adjacent for a lot of these reasons, but we'll just get this out of the way now. It's not. Could you treat it like one and watch it anyway? Yeah, but don't kid yourself. But so here's some of the things I'll say. I want to actually just get this out of the way before I get into talking about it. So when I had looked this up, so first off, I came across this movie and I had not heard of it. I came across it like through a reel on Instagram, and I just saw this clip of this girl skating, ice skating, getting chased by someone and I couldn't tell if this was supposed to be a mask or this was like a weird hag monster thing, but this old woman looking thing with like a sickle skating on the ice chasing after her. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And then someone that follows me on YouTube, that I followed them back, I went through like their videos and I saw that they had like recut a trailer for Curtains, and I was like, oh, so it is a movie. It's a movie. And I watched their trailer recut and I was like, hey, this looks really cool. Thank you for making this video. Like, I'm really intrigued to check this movie out now. And I looked it up, and yeah, like Wikipedia is like 1983 Canadian slasher film, blah, 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 blah. And then like the third paragraph, it says, Curtains had an extremely troubled production fueled by disputes between Simpson and Kupka. I don't know how to say this person's name. You don't have to take it upon yourself to enlighten me in the comments. At this point, the video is already going to be done, and you'll just be wasting your time. But Cupka. I'm just going to say Kupka, and I apologize if it's wrong, and it probably is. Disputes between Simpson and Kupka over its tone. Inspired by Giallo films, Kupka envisioned it as an art house thriller, while Simpson sought a more straightforward slasher film form. The conflicts between the two resulted in Kupka abandoning the project, after which Simpson took over directorial duties, overseeing multiple rewrites and reshoots. The film was completed approximately 2 years after production began, with Kupka detaching his name from the project and being credited under a pseudonym. So I went into the movie basically under the impression like, oh, it is inspired by Giallo films. And I will say this. For a lot of movies that are Giallo slasher hybrids, or so when I think of a Giallo slasher, and I don't mean like the old school Giallo films predating slasher films that are very slashery like Torso. I mean after the slasher genre has now become a thing and has kind of overshadowed Giallo films, Italian filmmakers or otherwise, American, Canadian, whatever filmmakers who are inspired by the old school Giallo films, but they're also trying to take advantage of the slasher films which took over the 80s, and so they want to make a slasher, but they also kind of want it to feel a little Giallo-y. These types of movies. So the best example I would give would be like Stage Fright, which is Italian, is a slasher, but also feels like a Giallo. A lot of people get so aggressive if you say Stage Fright is a Giallo, and it's just so funny that it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, anyways, yeah, so Giallo slasher hybrid. Definitely. And that one probably is the... see, I don't even want to make an official stance because there's a lot of these movies from the 80s and especially the 90s that I haven't seen yet because I'm trying to mostly go in chronological order. But I do feel like Stage Fright is very Giallo slasher hybridy. It seems to be like the quintessential one. Curtains, however, though, it really is Also, um, it's a good contender for that, especially considering that the original director wanted it to look and feel like a Giallo, and you see that throughout the film. There's all this stuff that you see the killer with this mask, which is very slashery, but oh my god, it's so unique. But you'll also see them wearing black gloves. The movie is also heavily hinting at that the killer is probably a woman. I'll get into the plot and how that is, and but so there's a lot more to insinuate that it is Giallo. I mean, from the outset. But then it's interesting because then the movie got taken over, I believe, by the producer, who then was like, no, I wanted a slasher, so I'm gonna make it a slasher. And you see that. So there's moments where it is Giallo-y and it really shines, and then there's moments where it's way more slasher. I'll also say the finale takes place in a prop warehouse. Very, very indicative, and I wouldn't say this is like a ripoff of, I would say that it is an homage to Blood and Black Lace. Whether that is the intention or not, I don't know, but it certainly feels like it. But I think the finale was actually filmed by the producer who was trying to make it more slasher film, I think. But that moment really felt like, okay, that's so cool. Let me see if I can find something on that. Yeah, the final chase scene in the prop house was filmed by Simpson over a year after the initial production, as was the ending murder scene between blank, 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 blank. Not going to spoil that. But yeah, so the ending was actually, all that final stuff was shot by the producer who wanted it. I'm not wrong. He is the producer. Yes, he was the producer who conceived the movie, who also had released Prom Night, which not a big Prom Night fan. Again, that doesn't mean I think it's bad. It's just whatever. But yeah, so before I get too deep into it, I will go through some other ties to Giallo. So this movie has Samantha Eggar, who, my God, her full name is Victoria Luisa Samantha Marie Elizabeth Teresa Eggar. Retired English actress with a name that long. I would have assumed Spanish. She was in she was in a lot of horror. She was in The Brood, but in terms of Giallo, 1972, The Dead Are Alive, also called The Etruscan Kills Again, Mystery of the Yellow Grave, The Death God Kills Again. I will be going over probably in a limited capacity. I will try to watch it and do an unscripted movie review for it, but I thought that was interesting. Like, oh, cool, this is a movie I'm going to be covering in like a couple months. So there's that, as well as, and again, this isn't like totally, this isn't a Giallo, but I did do a video talking about this a couple months ago. But Lynn Griffin, who's in this movie, was also in Black Christmas. So that is fun. My God, 10 years, almost a 10-year difference between those two movies. Wow. There's some other, who else? And then Leslie Donaldson was in Happy Birthday to Me, which is considered by some, including Quentin Tarantino, as an American Giallo. I've acquired this movie. I haven't watched it yet. I will do a whole segment where I go into the American Giallo films as laid out by Quentin Tarantino and just kind of focus on those. A lot of those movies I have already addressed as me believing they are Giallo. One of those being Dressed to Kill, which again, some people will get so mad. How dare you say Dressed to Kill is a Giallo? Shut up. Anyway, so let's get into curtains. I don't want to get into too much of the spoiler territory, but I'll give you a quick little premise of what this movie is about in case you haven't seen it and you might be interested. You can watch it. I think you can watch it on YouTube, but you can watch it on, I think I watched it on Dailymotion. I did watch it on Dailymotion. It was terrible. Not the movie, but there are ads like every 7 minutes. It was so frustrating. You can also watch it on Prime. I was actually going to rewatch it on Prime, but the quality was bad. It was like a bad VHS transfer. Everything was dark. I hated it. And but the sound was good. The The sound was like the good quality, but for some reason the picture and video quality was all just really dark. And I tried rewatching it, and after like 15 minutes I was like, I can't do this. I can't. I might have to buy this movie on Blu-ray. I did enjoy it. But yeah, so what is it about? This it opens with this woman giving this speech, and she's holding a gun, and it's kind of slowly zooming out on her. And turns out that this is a woman who's an older actress. She's older, and she's clearly a seasoned veteran actress, but nowadays she's going to be competing with the younger, more hotter talent, and she's trying to hold on to this legacy that she's created, and she's not done yet. And she wants to play this part for this director Stryker, his new movie, and he's telling her, like, I don't think you get it yet. Like, I don't think you understand the character. Like, a woman would never do this. And she's like, oh, off, bro. Yes, a woman would shoot her lover if she found this out. Da, 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 da. And so moving forward, they come up with a plan where they're gonna have her committed into a mental hospital so she can kind of do like a, not necessarily method acting, but so she can actually see what it's like, what her character might experience, just to give her a better understanding for the character. Well, she gets in, and then she finds out that the director kind of got her committed so he could get her out of the way, so he could audition the part with a bunch of younger actresses. And so now she's stuck in this mental hospital, and he's just like invites all these young women over to his place to kind of audition while they're there, which is very Weinstein-y in terms of like he's clearly going to use his power and influence to take advantage of some of these people. But it's like one girl is like and this is Lynn Griffith. This is the girl from Black Christmas. She's like a stand-up comic who wants to be an actor, and she's like, I'll do anything to be an actor. So comedian. Then you've got a girl who's a ballet dancer. Then you've got a girl who is a like an ice figure skater. And there's another girl who I think is like a rock star. And there might be a girl who's a model or whatever. I will be honest, it was kind of hard to keep track of all the women. There was only certain ones that really stood out more than others, but they all are at this house. And then it's him, Stryker, the director, and he's got like a male caretaker. And, really quickly we get into slasher territory with people fooling around. And then the woman, Samantha, I think that was her name, the older actress, she gets out of the mental hospital, and she's she finds out that he's auditioning with younger women. And so she's upset because she was basically guaranteed this role, and now she's finding out that he doesn't want to work with her, and she doesn't know why. And so she feels betrayed. And as these girls are coming to the house, they all know that they're going to be there with other girls. They all know. It's not like they get there and they're like, "What? I thought it was just me." They all know that there's going to be all these girls living together at this house, living with the director. It sounds like a reality show. It's kind of a stupid idea, but you could see how somebody could actually come up with this idea. Like, I'm going to have all the actresses come here, and they're going to live with me, and they're going to perform for me, and I'm going to decide over the course of weeks who I want. And it's stupid, but you can absolutely see someone coming up with that idea. But as the girls are coming up to the house, one of them gets killed on her way there. And there's all this weird stuff with like a doll. This like, they call it a life-size doll, but I guess it's supposed to look like a child, so I guess it's life-size in terms of it being about the size of a child. But then you're seeing this killer who's wearing this mask that looks like an old hag with long hair, and just like has an old face, black gloves, whatever. Really cool. I actually think this killer look is it's the perfect balance between a giallo killer and a slasher killer. It really is. It's really, really cool. And I think it's one of the most original designs. But so someone is killing them off. And initially the movie is kind of leading you to think, okay, well, it's got to be Samantha, right? Right? Because, who else could it be? And, maybe it is the director. Maybe it's one of the other girls, but you don't really know any of them that well at this point to really think it could be anybody else besides the older actress. Anyways, so they all start living together. Samantha shows up. She spills the beans to everyone that she originally was supposed to have this role, and the director took it from her. And yeah, one by one, people are getting killed, and they're all getting killed off by this weird hag. And then this mask is also used outside of the context of the killings, where the director, like, he's doing like workshops with everybody. Sometimes he'll do one-on-ones, and sometimes he'll do groups, like workshops. And at one point he makes Samantha wear the old hag mask, and he wants her to like try to seduce him, using only the things that she really can utilize while being bogged down into this mask. Use her eyes, use her body, any of this stuff. And it's less of an acting exercise and more of him trying to humiliate her. And so once again, the movie is seeming like it's trying to be like, it's probably her. She's very upset. She's got all the reason. And I will say, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll just say at a certain point, I had a hunch who the killer was, and by the end, I was correct. And the movie does give you those hints, those clues, and by the end, it's kind of the whole Robert McKee thing where a story should have you shouldn't be able to see the ending, but by the time you get to the ending, it should feel like there was no other way it could have ended other than that. And yeah. So, Curtains, did I like it? Yes, I did like it. I did also kind of want more from the movie, but it's fine. The plot itself was very Giallo. Anything that has to do with the arts, has to do with acting, has to do with, anything like artsy, is inherently a little bit more Giallo just by the nature of it. I mean, argue with me on that, but that's barely true. If you either deal with the arts, deal with fashion, deal with something that kind of, it doesn't mean that it's Giallo now and it's not a slasher. It just, Giallo like to include these more aspects of society, the arts, fashion, things of that ilk. So I remember when I had found out about this movie and I read about the plot, I was like, oh God, that sounds like a good like Giallo that if I didn't know this was a movie and I came up with that idea, I would be like, oh, I got something on my hands. This is going to be fun. But yes, if you are, and this is another thing of why it's a good hybrid. If you are a slasher fan, I would say check it out. If you are a Giallo fan, I would say check it out. It is definitely a slasher. Is it a Giallo? I can't say it is a Giallo. I would never say it's a Giallo. I would say it is the furthest I would go is say it is a Giallo slasher hybrid. And a lot of that is due to the history of the production, but I'm more inclined to just say the movie is Giallo adjacent, and it is playing heavily with the tropes, the themes, the style, but it's never committed enough to fully walk past that dividing line into this is unequivocally a Giallo. It is a slasher, but that's fine. That's not to knock this movie at all. I enjoyed it. I imagine you might too. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to say for Curtains. This is another one of those movies that, as of right now, this is it. Unless people really, really want me to do a much deeper, full deep dive into the movie, I have no problem doing that. It's just I do have a schedule plotted. The whole year is basically scheduled, and like I know what years I'm doing, what years in Giallo I'm doing going forward. And so this year of 2025, I will be doing 1972 and 1973. I will try to leave space in there so I can throw in some more fun videos that are a little outside of the bounds. I like to always kind of change it up a little bit. I don't want to just be 100% doing every single Giallo film every week. Sometimes it's fun to do a how Giallo is this movie, or to do a video essay on something else that I find interesting. So yeah, Curtains is certainly could be done. I could cover it in a deeper extent in a how Giallo is Curtains. Answering the question that I posed at the end of the body count video, which did I like better of the two movies I watched on the same day, Body Count or Curtains? I think I liked Curtains better. They're different movies. They really are different movies. But I don't know. But I will say Body Count was probably more fun. I think if you were to have a bunch of friends together, maybe smoke some weed, have some drinks, whatever, just kind of get that fun vibe going, you probably are going to have a better time with Body Count than with Curtains, probably. But for solo viewing, for really kind of like, I think Curtains was better. It was less schlocky. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Have you seen Curtains? What are your thoughts on the movie? Have you not heard about this movie? Or have you heard about this movie? Is this the first time you're hearing about it? Let me know. I'd love to hear some feedback. Other than that, questions, thoughts, curiosities, or concerns in the comments, I'll get back to you as long as you are not being an asshole. And besides that, I thank you for watching. This is Tanner Leeser for The King and Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.